Well, good evening and welcome to the Arbor Hills Nature Preserve in Plano, Texas. Tonight's exercise is a field test of the Lumintop AD01. I've had a number of requests for field testing of this light. I do like to accommodate these requests whenever I can. And I really want to thank Lumintop for sending me the light and making the review possible. Now, you've probably been to the website, you've read through all the features, you understand the different batteries that can be used. That's pretty cool. I will point out, here's the box that I can't have up permanently because it would blow away in the wind. There's a couple things this box does not have in it, and one of them is a battery. So I want to point out that tonight, I'm testing with an Orbtronic 18650. I'll put the details of this up in the video description. The other thing that does not come in the box is a holster. You may not really get an idea about this from a website picture, but that's a pretty chunky light. Now, I've got average size hands. I do like the way it fits in my hand. Good fit and finish. Excellent knurling, but really the first thing that you're going to have to think about is how are you going to carry and deploy this light. I would tend to think for most people it's probably something that you're going to put in a pack and just get it out whenever you need it. Pocket carry, probably not going to work for most people. Now, in terms of testing tonight, I'm looking at this from more of a night hiking and just general night activity perspective. I'm going to be interested in whether or not we can use it at a lower level illumination just to light up the area in close quarters, get some illumination on a path, some good close quarters situational awareness. And then if we use it with a average headlamp, maybe something in the 300 to 400 lumen range, like a Petzl Black Diamond that you could get at a sporting goods store. Can we use this at a higher level of illumination to get really good downrange identification? But before we get there, in the next chapter, I'm going to go very briefly over the UI. If you're already familiar with that, great. Just skip ahead and we'll get right to what everybody is really interested in, which is beam shots, and more beam shots. UI, one switch controls everything. 5 output levels. Moonlight, low, medium, high, turbo. I don't care too much about moonlight. One click to turn the light on. Your basic rotation is low, medium, high. Successive clicks just keep taking you through low, medium, high with memory. There is electronic lockout. If the light is on, double click to go to turbo. You do have strobe, SOS beacon. I don't really care for the way strobe is set up. You have to go through moonlight to get there. When the light is on, you press and hold to turn it off. Again, double click to turbo if you're on, so you do have easy access to turbo. The SOS and beacon modes are pretty handy. I do search and rescue as a private contractor, so if you were using one of those modes in tandem with the whistle, that would be a great thing to have. Just don't get too excited about strobe. I'll talk a little bit more about the UI in the summary. I know you want to get to beam shots, so let the sun go down and we'll get there. Here we are at the bridge looking down at the creek in low. Already I can tell this is a very elongated or elliptical type of beam pattern. All right, there's medium. Still got 40 yards or so line of sight. Not everything is grown in yet since it's not fully through spring. There's high. And everyone's favorite turbo. I can really get some good spill here in turbo. All right then, very interesting test environment tonight. I'll explain that as we get further into the preserve. Let's go put this light through its paces. So here we are at low on a dirt path. It's a very overcast night tonight, but the clouds are extremely low and we have light all around us in the surrounding city. So that's resulting in a lot of ambient light. So if it's a very flat setting, you could of course make your way around with no light at all. But if you're trying to follow a path, what you miss out on is little bumps like we see right ahead of us, and just the general slope of the terrain. But even in low mode, I've got this beam turn. Like I said, it's kind of elliptical, so you can really see it there. So if I turn it to the side like this, I've got, even in low, I have more than ample light to make my way across the path. And then I can look down on the bottom of those trees. Very interesting beam. Well, let's go see what this looks like in medium in another example. Here we are in medium. I'm keeping the distances kind of inside 30 yards. I've got that beam oriented more up and down or vertically, just perfect for looking at detail inside trees. Even with the light pollution, I'm getting good detail on that tree in the distance. Same there, and then I can rotate it to focus on the ground, the bottom of the tree, and then rotate it back. Now I'm looking more straight up and down. Again, very interesting beam pattern. I'm kind of starting to dig it. Okay, so yeah, for just punching right through these tree gaps, this is really interesting. Even in medium mode with quite a bit of light pollution, getting really good results out of this. On a night where there's a lot of ambient light out, this is probably one of the tougher tests. Wide open area, longer range. This tree line here angles off to my left, goes out to well over a football field. I've got the beam, as you can see, oriented more horizontally. I'm still getting, good enough information from that tree line. It's well over a football field away, and we are in high output level right now. But I like challenging test environments as much as the next person, so let's keep on going. First test in turbo, maximum line of sight, 150, 175. Closer range here, back to maximum range. And again, this is our first test in turbo. Now we're at closer range. We're back in turbo. This is going to function as a step down and heat test. According to the manual, we're supposed to get a step down around 90 seconds. So I'm just going to continue to film, see if we notice any step down. And I'm holding the light a bit closer to the tail end away from that heat sink, and I'll see if any of that heat is an issue. Yeah, it looks like a very gentle ramp down, and it's happening quicker than 90 seconds. But as long as I keep my, even if I put my finger up to that heat sink, it's actually not bad. Of course, it's stepped down now, but okay, this is taking us up to about a minute and a half, so I think that's a useful data point. So I wanted to do one example to show how the light works in tandem with a lower lumen headlamp. I have my headlamp in 400 lumen flood, so let's say I'm just following this path and I hear something that is beyond that sign, so I immediately want to bring the AD01 in. I've got it in medium. I can sort of angle this to search right along the contour of the ground in between the trees. So I think this would be something very good to pair with a typical hiking headlamp. And for situations like this, you'd probably, in reality, never need to go much beyond medium. Well, let me move on, complete this loop that I'm on right now, and then we'll do a quick summary. This is an area that I normally do a lot of summaries. We are in medium output level right now. Maximum line of sight this time of year is still a good 55, 60 yards. Bump that up to high. And I'm going to pan around here. Medium and high should probably be, you know, what I call the money modes. These are the modes that should sell the light. Turbo is fine for casual, intermittent use, maybe 15 to 30 seconds, but these are the modes you'll probably use the most often. The beam profile is probably what interests me the most. It's very interesting. I did a lot of off-camera testing, just looking between trees and gaps between trees. And often in search and rescue, I don't like to talk about this, but the reality is that one of the reasons that people are missing is because of foul play, and especially in an environment like this, if that's involved, someone could get drugged 25 yards inside a clump of trees before they are assaulted. And so that's what you're searching for. Search isn't always lighting up things many hundreds of yards in the distance. I know that's got a lot of interest to marketing people, and it sounds cool and all of that. But having done this for many, many years at night, most of your work is done inside what I call the golden zone, which is inside 100 to 120 yards. In terms of the UI, I did get bit a couple times with that press and hold to turn off. I do wish more manufacturers would consider click on, press and hold to ramp up, release, press and hold to ramp down. That way I could dial in the precise amount of illumination for a specific task, you know, then do your double click to turbo and you're good to go. But most manufacturers don't consult me before they create their lights. I just do the reviews, so take that for the 1.5 or 2 cents that it might be worth. I may have to do another review on this and revisit that whole search inside tree lines and do a comparison with some other lights. If you'd like to see other batteries tested, leave a comment. But until the next review, as always, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for watching the video.